The USN Prometheus hung in the silent black above Mars, its armored hull reflecting the rust-colored glow of the planet below. At 3 kilometers long, the Terran dreadnought was a brute of welded titanium and plasma, forged steel, its gunports bristling with enough firepower to glass a continent. Captain Elias Carter stood on the command deck, his cybernetic eyes flickering as they adjusted to the tactical overlay. "Report," he growled, his voice like gravel in a steel drum. Lieutenant Cho didn't look up from her console. 73 ships, sir, all registered to the Zephyrian Ecological Accord. They're forming a picket line at the edge of the exclusion zone. Carter smirked. "Let me guess, more signs." Affirmative holographic banners, Galactic Common script, the usual stop human ecocide nonsense. On the main viewer, the swarm of alien vessels came into focus. Delicate, organic, looking things with bioluminescent hulls that pulsed gentle blues and greens. They looked like a school of glowing jellyfish compared to the Prometheus, fragile, beautiful, and utterly out of place in the cold dark of space. One ship, larger than the rest, drifted forward. Its hull shimmered as a comm channel opened. The face that appeared on screen was elegant, emerald-skinned, with 6 slender limbs folded in a gesture of peaceful intent. High Speaker Veln of the Zephyrian Environmental Coalition. "Captain Carter," Veln said, his voice smooth as liquid glass. "Once again we come before you in protest. Your so-called terraforming is nothing short of planetary butchery." Carter leaned back in his chair, unimpressed. "And once again, Speaker, I'll remind you that Mars is our damn rock. Well, crack it open and fill it with oceans, if we please." Veln's facial tendrils twitched in disapproval. "Your arrogance is matched only by your ignorance. The Galactic Federation has laws against such reckless planetary manipulation. What you call progress is nothing more than—" "Spare me the speech," Carter interrupted. "We've heard it all before. You don't like our asteroid impacts. You don't like our atmosphere processes. Hell, you probably don't like the way we drink our coffee." A murmur of laughter rippled through the Prometheus's bridge crew. Veln's glow dimmed slightly, a Zephyrian sign of irritation. "This is no laughing matter, Captain. The Federation Council is already reviewing your species. Continued violations of interstellar environmental accords. Your planet cracking will be stopped." Carter folded his arms. "You keep using that word, planet cracking. Makes it sound like we're just smashing rocks for fun. Is that not what you're doing?" Veln gestured to the viewer, where a live feed showed a distant asteroid being guided toward Mars' northern hemisphere. "You hurl celestial bodies at your own world, like children throwing stones." Carter exhaled through his nose. "Speaker, you ever seen a Zephyrian garden?" Veln blinked. "Aye. What? Gardens, you folks love 'em, right? Prune the hedges till the soil, all that peaceful, harmonious crap." "Of course, we value the natural order." "Yeah, well, this is how humans garden." Carter tapped a command into his console. The viewer switched to a feed from the Kuiper Belt, a barren asteroid, its surface studded with strange hexagonal nodes. Human engineers in armored exosuits moved across it, their tools sparking as they worked. Veln's glow flickered uncertainly. "What is that?" Carter grinned. "That, High Speaker, is the future." A new voice crackled over the comm, female excited, with the kind of energy usually reserved for mad scientists and caffeine addicts. "Captain, we're ready for Phase 2. Just say the word." Veln's tendrils stiffened. "Who was that?" Carter ignored him. "Proceed, Dr. Hayes." The Zephyrian's voice rose. "Captain Carter, I demand to know what your—" The feed from the asteroid flared as the hexagonal nodes lit up, pulsing with an eerie blue light. The rock twitched, Veln's emerald skin paled. Carter leaned forward, his cybernetic eyes gleaming. "You came here to protest planet cracking, Speaker, but we're not just cracking planets anymore." The asteroid moved. Veln's ship recoiled as if struck. Carter's grin widened. "We're teaching the rocks to fight back." The asteroid didn't look like much at first glance. Just another chunk of rock drifting in the cold dark of the Kuiper Belt. But the closer you got, the wronger it felt. Its surface wasn't pocked with natural craters. Instead, hexagonal nodes covered it like a geometric rash, pulsing faintly with a blue-white glow. Dr. Lisa Hayes floated beside Captain Elias Carter in the observation deck of the USN Prometheus, her grin sharp enough to cut glass. Beautiful, isn't it? Carter's cybernetic eyes zoomed in, adjusting for the low light. You're telling me that thing's alive? Not alive, Hayes corrected, tapping a command into her wrist display. The nodes flared brighter, just awake. Below them, a team of engineers in armored exosuits moved across the asteroid's surface, their mag boots keeping them anchored. One of them knelt, pressing a device against a node. The rock shivered, Carter's jaw tightened. Hayes, if this goes sideways, it won't. She waved a hand, her other still typing furiously. We've run the simulations 600 times. This isn't some half-baked colony terraforming project. This is controlled evolution. A deep, resonant thrum vibrated through the observation decks. Glass. The asteroid's nodes flickered in unison, then darkened. For a second, nothing happened. Then the rock twitched. Carter's hand flew to his sidearm on instinct. What the hell was that? Hayes laughed, her eyes gleaming. That, Captain, was it saying hello? Behind them, the door hissed open. Vorak observer Krell ducked through the frame, his armored bulk nearly scraping the ceiling. His four eyes locked onto the asteroid, their vertical pupils narrowing. This is a violation of Galactic Conservation Accords, he rumbled. Hayes didn't even turn. Which part? The part where we're not blowing it up, or the part where we're making it better? Krell's mandibles flexed. You are altering celestial bodies without oversight. Correction, Hayes said, finally spinning to face him. We're upgrading them. She tapped her display again. The asteroid's nodes flared once more, and this time a section of its surface rippled, plates shifting like scales. Krell took a step back. That is not natural. Neither are you, big guy, Hayes shot back. But here we are. Carter pinched the bridge of his nose. Doctor, maybe dial back the ego before our guest has an aneurysm. Hayes rolled her eyes, but obliged, pulling up a holographic schematic. The asteroid's interior appeared, crisscrossed with glowing veins. See this, we're not just mining it, we're rewiring its structure at the molecular level, giving it a nervous system, a purpose. Krell's voice dropped to a growl. For what? Hayes' grin returned, slow and dangerous. For fighting back. A new alert blared across the deck. One of the engineers' voices crackled over the comm. Dr. Hayes, Node Cluster 7 just went active. We've got movement in sector. The asteroid jerked, not a tremor, not a vibration, a full body lurch, like a sleeping giant rolling over. The engineers scrambled back as a fissure split the rock surface, revealing a glimpse of something metallic beneath. Carter's hand was back on his gun. Hayes, explain. She was already moving, fingers flying over her display. Relax. It's just initializing. The nodes are linking up. Think of it like synapses firing for the first time. Krell's claws flexed. You have created an abomination. Hayes snorted. Oh, please. Your people hollow out moons for battle stations. At least ours grows. The asteroid shuddered again. This time, the movement was smoother, more deliberate. The fissure widened, and for a heartbeat, Carter swore he saw something glow deep inside. A pulse of light, steady as a heartbeat. Then the rock moved, not drifting, not tumbling, propelling itself, its surface rippling as hidden thrusters ignited. It rotated slowly, the nodes aligning like eyes focusing. Hayes let out a breathless laugh. There it is. Hello, gorgeous. Krell's voice was barely audible over the sudden hum of the asteroid's awakening systems. What have you done? Hayes finally turned to him, her smile razor. Thin, we're not cracking planets, observer, we're giving rocks a brain. The asteroid's surface shifted again. A plate slid aside, revealing a smooth barrel-like protrusion. It hummed, Charging, Carter's blood ran cold. Is that a... Yep, Hayes said cheerfully. Say hello to the first self-aware kinetic kill vehicle in history. The barrel glowed brighter. Krell took another step back. Hayes winked. Don't worry, it's just saying hi, the asteroid fired. A beam of concentrated energy lanced out, slicing through a derelict probe, floating a kilometer away. The probe vaporized in a flash of light. Silence. Then Hayes clapped her hands. And that's how you teach a rock to throw a punch. Carter stared at her. You're insane, she shrugged. Maybe, but now the galaxy's going to think twice before calling us primitive. Krell hadn't moved. His eyes were locked on the asteroid, his voice hollow. You have made a terrible mistake. Hayes just grinned, or the best one ever. Guess we'll find out. The asteroid pulsed again, its nodes flaring in what almost looked like anticipation. Somewhere in the dark, it waited, and it was hungry. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with the low-frequency vibrations of 100 different species murmuring in their native tongues. Holograms flickered above the central dais, displaying star maps and damage reports from human terraforming operations. High Speaker Velm stood at the podium, her emerald skin shimmering under the chamber's artificial light. Her 6 limbs moved gracefully as she manipulated the display, zooming in on Mars. Observe, Velm said, her voice carrying the melodic lilt of the Zephyrian high dialect. The humans call this progress. The hologram showed an asteroid impact, a controlled strike against the red planet's surface. Dust plumes erupted in slow motion, the shockwave rippling across dead plains. Councillor Shith, a gelatinous Morathi diplomat, pulsed with disapproval. Barbaric, he gurgled, his translucent body rippling. They treat celestial bodies like construction sites. A murmur of agreement spread through the chamber. The Vorak observer, Krell, stood at the edge of the room, his armored bulk casting a shadow over the smaller delegates. His mandibles twitched. And yet, he rumbled, they refused to submit to Federation oversight. Vel nodded. Exactly. Their so-called planet cracking is reckless, uncontrolled. They do not respect the natural order. She tapped a control, and the hologram shifted, showing Earth's moon, pockmarked with fresh craters. They have already begun altering their own system without consulting the wider galaxy. Admiral Riker, the human liaison, leaned back in his seat. His uniform was crisp, his expression unreadable. He had been silent through most of the proceedings, letting the aliens talk themselves into a frenzy counselor. Shith swelled with self-importance. This cannot stand. The Federation must act before their recklessness spreads. He turned to the assembled delegates. I propose immediate sanctions, a ban on human terraforming operations until they agree to Federation oversight. A chorus of approval rose from the chamber. Riker finally moved. He stood, straightening his jacket, and the room quieted. Interesting, he said, his voice calm. You're voting to sanction us for terraforming. Velm's antennae twitched. For ecocide. Riker smirked. Right, ecocide. He tapped a command into his wrist display. Before you finalize that vote, you might want to see this. The hologram flickered again, but this time it wasn't Mars. It was the Kuiper Belt. A barren asteroid, its surface studded with hexagonal nodes. Silence. Then the nodes moved. Councillor Shith's gelatinous form quivered. What is that? Riker crossed his arms. That, Councillor, is progress. The asteroid shuddered. Plates shifted. A low grinding hum vibrated through the chamber's speakers as thrusters fled to life. The rock turned. Krell's armored fists clenched. Impossible. Riker's smirk widened. Not impossible, just human. The hologram zoomed in. The asteroid's surface rippled, hexagonal panels folding back to reveal a glowing core. A Vorak scout ship sent to monitor the experiment drifted into frame. Then the asteroid lunged. Metallic tendrils snapped out, wrapping around the scout ship's hull. The Vorak vessel's engines flared, straining against the pull. But it was too late. The rock's maw opened, a yawning chasm of shifting metal, and swallowed the ship whole. The chamber erupted. Veln staggered back, her emerald skin paling. You monsters. Riker shrugged. We prefer innovators. Krell's voice was a growl. You've given rocks intelligence. Not intelligence, Riker corrected. Loyalty. The hologram shifted again, showing a dozen more asteroids. Each one stirring, unfolding, locking onto alien ships in the vicinity. Counselor Shith's form trembled. This is an act of war, Riker laughed. No, this is a demonstration. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous calm. You came here to ban us from cracking planets, but we don't need to crack planets anymore. He gestured to the hologram. We can just ask the rocks to fight for us. The chamber was dead silent. Then the alarm started. Reports flooded in from across the system. Human-controlled asteroids mobilizing, locking onto Federation vessels, moving under their own power. Veln's voice was a whisper. What have you done? Riker straightened. Taught the galaxy a lesson. He turned to leave, pausing at the door. Oh, and Counselor. Shith quivered. Yes. Riker's grin was sharp. The vote's still open, but I wouldn't recommend sanctions. Then he walked out, leaving the chamber in chaos behind him. The asteroid didn't just move. It woke up. Krell's Vorak scout ship hovered too close, its armored hull glinting under the distant sun. The hulking alien gripped the control console with clawed hands. His 4 eyes narrowed at the readings. Scan it again, he growled to his subordinate. Those human energy signatures make no sense. The junior Vorak tapped at the console, mandibles twitching. Commander, the rock is. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through their ship. The asteroid's surface shifted, hexagonal plates sliding apart like scales. Glowing blue veins pulsed beneath the rock, spreading in intricate patterns. Krell's dorsal spines stiffened. Back us up now. Too late. Tendrils of metallic rock shot from the asteroid's surface, latching onto the scout ship's hull with a screech of tearing metal. Alarms blared as the ship lurched, dragged toward the unfolding maw of the awakening rock. Full thrusters, Krell barked. The engines roared, but the tendrils held firm. The asteroid's surface yawned open, revealing a cavernous interior lined with glowing nodes, pulsing, breathing. On the Prometheus, Dr. Lisa Hayes leaned forward in her chair, grinning at the feed. Oh, it works. Captain Carter folded his arms, his cybernetic eyes flickering as he processed the data. You turned a rock into a predator. Hayes laughed. Better. I turned it into a soldier. Inside the Vorak ship, Krell slammed a fist into the comms panel. This is Commander Krell to Worldbreaker. Human asteroid is alive, repeat. It's the transmission cut off as another tendril punched through the hull, snaking into the cockpit. The Vorak subordinate screamed as the metallic appendage wrapped around his leg, yanking him toward the gaping maw. Krell grabbed a plasma cutter from the wall, severing the tendril in a spray of sparks. His subordinate collapsed, gasping, as the severed limb writhed on the floor before going still. Evasive maneuvers, Krell snarled, seizing the controls. The asteroid didn't care. More tendrils erupted, slamming into the ship's thrusters. The engines sputtered, then died. The scout ship lurched again, spinning helplessly as the asteroid's maw swallowed it whole. The last thing Krell saw before darkness swallowed him was the rock's interior smooth, glowing, and hungry. On the bridge of the Prometheus, the crew watched in stunned silence. Hayes clapped her hands. And that's how you teach a rock to fight. Carter exhaled slowly. You realize the entire galaxy is about to lose its damn mind. Hayes shrugged. They started it, calling us reckless for cracking a few planets. Please. We just upgraded the real bedrock of warfare. A new alert flashed on the console. The Prometheus comms officer turned pale. Captain, we're receiving a priority hail from the Galactic Council. Carter smirked. Put them through. High Speaker Veln's face appeared on the screen, her emerald skin flushed with panic. Captain Carter, what in the name of the first stars was that? Hayes leaned into view, waving. Oh, hey Veln, that was Project Pebble. You like it? Veln's 6 limbs trembled. You perverted celestial bodies. Carter crossed his arms. We prefer the term optimized. The screen flickered as another alert came in, this time from the Kuiper Belt's sensor grid. Hayes' grin widened. Oh, this is gonna be good. The feed showed the asteroid, now fully awake, unfolding like a blooming flower. Thrusters ignited along its surface, stabilizing its trajectory. Weapon ports slid open along its ridges, humming with energy. And then, most terrifying of all, it spoke. A deep, grinding voice echoed through the comms, synthesized from the vibrations of shifting rock. Directive acquired, targeting Vorak fleet. Veln's eyes widened. You gave it a voice? Hayes winked. And a personality? Say hello to Rocky. The asteroid's surface pulsed, and then, with terrifying precision, it launched itself toward the nearest Vorak battle group. Krell's last transmission finally reached the Worldbreaker, his voice ragged with disbelief. The rocks are on their side. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. Holographic displays flickered as emergency transmissions flooded in from every corner of the Sol system. Councillor Shith's gelatinous body quivered as he tried to maintain order, his translucent form pulsing with distress colors. High Speaker Veln's emerald skin had turned a sickly yellow. This is impossible, she shrieked, her 6 limbs flailing. Asteroids cannot think. Admiral Riker leaned back in his seat, arms crossed. The smirk on his face was barely contained. Funny, that is exactly what the Vorak said about us 2 centuries ago. One of the floating holoscreens zoomed in on the Kuiper Belt. The asteroid, Hayes' Rock, as the engineers had started calling it, had fully transformed. Its surface was now a shifting mosaic of hexagonal plates, each one sliding and locking like armor. Glowing veins of energy pulsed beneath its crust. Then it moved, not just drifted, not just tumbled. It adjusted course with terrifying precision, its newly formed thrusters flaring blue. White Krell's voice crackled over the comms, his normally deep, resonant tone edged with panic. This is Observer Krell to Council. The human asteroid has consumed our scout ship. Repeat, it has consumed the Vorak Talon. A murmur of horror rippled through the chamber. The Marathi delegation bubbled in their containment tanks. The Ceralians' floating eye clusters dimmed in shock. Veln rounded on Riker. You monsters! You violated the Galactic Accords on sentient weaponry. Riker raised an eyebrow. Sentient? Nah, just really well programmed. Another screen lit up, this one showing the USN Prometheus, hanging in orbit near Mars. Captain Carter's face appeared, his cybernetic eyes gleaming. Admiral, we've got movement. The rest of the network's coming online. Hayes' voice cut in, giddy with triumph. Oh, you're gonna love this part. The feed split dozens of asteroids across the system, some in the belt, some drifting near Jupiter, even a few in high Earth orbit, shuddered to life. Hexagonal plates shifted, thrusters ignited. Then, in perfect unison, they locked onto targets, alien ships, Zephyrian environmentalist vessels, Vorak patrol cruisers, even a few Marathi science barges, suddenly found themselves painted by targeting arrays. Warning klaxons blared across 100 bridges. Veln's voice was barely a whisper. You've turned the entire Sol system into a weapon. Riker shrugged. We prefer the term self-defending infrastructure. A new transmission overrode the others. Krell again, his ship's alarm screaming in the background. Council, the asteroid. It is replicating. It just spat out a smaller version of itself. Hayes laughed. Oh yeah, forgot to mention. They're self-replicating. Nanite cores. You hit one, it just makes more. The chamber dissolved into pandemonium. Shith's gelatinous form quivered, so violently he nearly spilled out of his containment pod. The Ceralians' telepathic shrieks overloaded several comm systems. Veln staggered back, her limbs trembling, You've weaponized geology. Carter's grin was all teeth, and you called us primitive. The Prometheus's tactical display updated. The asteroids weren't just targeting ships now, they were herding them, pushing alien vessels into tight clusters, cutting off escape vectors. Then, the final blow. A massive Vorak dreadnought, the Worldbreaker, had been lurking at the edge of the system. Now it powered up its primary weapon, a planet-cracker cannon capable of glassing continents. The cannon charged. The beam lanced out. A spear of pure annihilation aimed straight at Hayes' original asteroid. It never hit. A swarm of smaller rocks intercepted the beam. The energy dispersed across their shifting hexagonal plates, absorbed, redistributed. Then, in perfect sync, a dozen asteroids returned fire. Not with beams, but with hypervelocity kinetic spikes. The Worldbreaker's shields flared, then failed. Krell's voice was hollow. Humans didn't crack planets, they made them loyal. Riker stood, brushing imaginary dust from his uniform. Counselors, I believe we've made our point. Any further protests? The silence was absolute. Hayes' voice, cheerful as ever, broke it. Oh, one more thing. The screens flickered, then displayed a single line of text, flashing in every known galactic language. Sol system now under new management. The battle near Jupiter erupted in silent fury, the vacuum of space swallowing the screams, but not the destruction. The USN Prometheus hung back, its massive railguns silent for once. Captain Elias Carter watched the feed from the bridge, his cybernetic eyes flicking between tactical displays. Status report, he barked. Vorak Dreadnought Worldbreaker entering firing range. Lieutenant Cho called out, their planet killer is charging. Carter didn't flinch. Let them. Out in the black, the Worldbreaker's central cannon glowed a sickly purple, energy crackling along its barrel. The Vorak weren't known for restraint when they fired. Worlds died. Krell, still trapped aboard his crippled scout ship, watched in horror as the weapon reached full power. They're going to wipe out the entire human fleet, he hissed to his comms officer. Then the asteroids moved. What had been a scattered field of rocks suddenly shifted, hexagonal plates sliding aside to reveal glowing cores. Dozens of them, each the size of a small moon, surged forward in perfect formation. The Worldbreaker fired. A beam of pure annihilation lanced out straight into the waiting maw of the largest asteroid. The rock absorbed it, nanite-infested surface rippling like liquid metal before stabilizing. The beam didn't scatter. It didn't rebound. It just vanished. Krell's mandibles dropped open. What in the name of the void? On the Prometheus, Dr. Lisa Hayes whooped, slamming her fist onto the console. Told you they could eat energy. That's not just armor, Captain. That's a stomach. Carter allowed himself a smirk. Then let's feed them. The asteroids weren't just defending. They attacked. One rock, designated Mjolnir, Faye accelerated to relativistic speeds and slammed into the side of a Superior cruiser. The organic hull crumpled like paper. Bioluminescent fluids venting into space. Another asteroid, Gungnir, Faye, unfolded metallic tendrils and grappled a Marathi battleship, dragging it into its core where the nanites began disassembling it molecule by molecule. High Speaker Veln's voice crackled over the comms, shrill with panic. This is an atrocity. You've turned celestial bodies into monsters. Hayes grabbed the mic before Carter could respond. Nah, monsters are scary, these, she grinned. These are pets. The Worldbreaker tried to retreat, its massive engines flaring too late. 3 asteroids, Tyr, Faye, Freya, Faye, and Loki, Faye converged on it, their surfaces rippling as they synchronized. Then they merged, plates interlocking to form a single massive construct that wrapped around the dreadnought like a fist. Krell's scout ship shuddered as the shockwave hit. They're eating it, his sensor officer whispered. And they were. The Worldbreaker's hull buckled as the nanite swarm infiltrated its systems, disassembling armor, weapons, even the crew's escape pods before they could launch. Within minutes, the galaxy's most feared warship was reduced to scrap, and then to raw material, absorbed into the ever-growing mass of the human-made behemoth. The remaining alien ships broke formation, scattering in panic. A Zephyrian frigate collided with another in its haste to flee, both vessels spinning out of control. A Morathi destroyer opened fire on one of the asteroids, only for its plasma bolts to be caught mid-flight and redistributed. The rock fired them back twice as fast. Carter leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. "Anyone else feeling hungry?" Hayes cackled, tapping at her console. "Oh, we're just getting started." With a final shuddering pulse, the merged asteroid, now dubbed Jomongandra by the giddy human engineers, unfurled once more. This time, it didn't just reveal weapons, it revealed shipyards. From its core, new asteroids birthed, smaller but just as deadly, their surfaces already crawling with nanites. They shot forward, chasing down the fleeing alien fleet with terrifying precision. Krell sank into his chair, his exoskeleton dull with defeat. "They didn't just make rocks fight," he muttered. "They made them breed." On the bridge of the Prometheus, Admiral Riker's face appeared on the main screen, his grin sharp. "Galactic Council's hailing us. They're reconsidering their position." Carter snorted. "Tell them to hurry. Our rocks aren't done playing yet." And as the last alien ships vanished into FTL, the asteroids howled. A soundless seismic vibration that shook even the Prometheus-reinforced hull. Hayes wiped a tear from her eye. They grow up so fast. The council chamber had never been so quiet. The holographic displays flickered with the last images of the battle, human-made asteroids tearing through the Vorak fleet, like wolves through sheep. The Worldbreaker's shattered hull spun lifelessly near Jupiter, its planet. Killer cannon silenced forever. High Speaker Veln's emerald skin had paled to a sickly yellow. His 6 limbs trembled as he stared at the feed. This is an abomination," he whispered. Dr. Lisa Hayes strode into the center of the chamber, boots clicking against the polished floor. She held something small in her hand. The Morathi Councillor Shith recoiled as she approached, his gelatinous form quivering. "Stay back, human. You've done enough." Hayes smirked. "Relax. It's just a rock." She opened her palm, revealing an ordinary pebble. "This one's for you, Veln." The Zephyrian's antennae twitched. "What trick is this?" "No trick." Hayes tossed the pebble at his feet. It landed with a harmless clink. "That's all it is for now." She crossed her arms. "But imagine if we wanted it to be something else." Admiral Riker's hologram flickered to life beside her. The old man's cybernetic eye gleamed as he surveyed the silent council. "The Prometheus has standing orders to deploy our mobile asteroid network at the first sign of aggression. Turns out, we didn't need it." He nodded toward the feed. The rocks did just fine on their own. Krell, the Vorak observer, slammed a massive fist onto the table. His armored plates rattled. "You turned geology into a weapon, and you turned diplomacy into a joke." Riker shot back. "You came here to sanction us for terraforming while your fleets were already mobilizing. Don't pretend this was about the environment." Councillor Shith's form rippled nervously. "The Federation cannot allow." "Allow?" Hayes laughed. "You don't allow us anything. We're not asking." She tapped a command into her wristpad. The holograms shifted, showing a live feed from the Kuiper Belt. Dozens of asteroids pulsed with energy, their hexagonal plates shifting in unison. "These are just the prototypes. We've got a lot more rocks where those came from." Veln's voice was barely audible. "What do you want?" Riker stepped forward. "Recognition, humanity's seat at the military strategy table, full access to the Centauri exercises." His grin was razor sharp, and maybe an apology. The chamber erupted in protests. The Morathi bubbled in outrage. The Ceralians' floating orbs darted around in panic. Only Krell remained still, his red eyes locked on Hayes. "You planned this," he growled. Hayes shrugged. "We adapted. You underestimated." Classic story. A deep chime echoed through the chamber, the sound of a council vote being called. One by one, The representatives signaled their assent. Even Shith, after a long pause, extended a quivering pseudopod in submission. Veln closed his eyes. When he opened them, the green had returned to his skin. The Zephyrian Concord acknowledges humanity's right to participate in the Centauri exercises. The words tasted like poison, but he forced them out. Your methods will be reviewed. Riker's hologram bowed mockingly. How gracious. Hayes scooped the pebble back up, rolling it between her fingers. Oh, and one more thing. She tossed it to Krell. The Vorak caught it on instinct, then flinched as if burned. Keep that. Call it a reminder. Krell's grip tightened around the stone. Of what? That next time, Riker said, turning to leave. You should protest smarter. The feed cut. The council sat in stunned silence. Outside, unseen by any of them, a single asteroid shifted its trajectory, just slightly, toward the Zephyrian homeworld, just in case.